Alien Romulus is one of my most anticipated films of the year. After being saved from going straight to Hulu, Alien Romulus hits the big screen this time around with Fede Alverez stepping behind the camera, hoping to inject some horror back into the Alien franchise.
Run.
I'm going into this movie as somebody that has never seen any of the Alien movies. So if this is going to be your first time stepping into the Alien franchise and not had seen the other films, I think you're going to come out having a really good time. You're probably going to miss out on a lot of the nuance and Easter eggs, but I think you're still going to come out having a really fun time because that's exactly what this movie is. Fede Alvarez steps back into the horror genre after what he did with the 2013 Evil Dead film and Don't Breathe. Yeah, he did the girl in the spider webs, which isn't all that memorable, but he is back hoping to step into the franchise, breathe it a little bit more life like they did with Prey a couple of years ago, and I think they do it in spades. I think if you're a fan of the original Alien films, especially the first two, I think you're going to come out having a really good time. And from the sounds of it, it's a little bit mixed if you're a fan of the original films because it relies a little bit too much on the Easter eggs and nostalgia of the first two films. However, I don't think that's going to deteriorate a lot of people from having a good time with this movie because it is everything that I wanted this movie to be. Not only are the visuals and the practical effects really spot on, but the performances in here are also spot on. The film stars Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Archie Renault, Isabel Merced, Spike Fern, and Aileen Wu, and while I enjoy 95% of these characters, the only character I did not care for is played by Spike Fern. Not saying that his performance wasn't great, it was just a character that I just did not care for because he became a little bit overly dickish. The movie is really held down by Kaylee Spaney and David Johansen. These two are the stars of this movie and they pull it off amazing. The relationship between these two characters are great. David Johansen didn't really know anything about him, really haven't seen anything that he's done. This might have been the first thing that he's ever done, but the way that his android is portrayed was so fascinating that I loved every single moment that he was on screen, especially when he had the relationship between him and Kaylee Spaney. These two working in tandem, I think would have been the make or break for me. If you're not able to get behind characters that are likable or try to be likable, then you're really just wanting everybody to die because they become overly annoying. When it comes to these characters, they are really grounded in the way that even though they're not really biological siblings, Rain, played by Kaylee Spaney, treats Andy like her brother, and I really love that brotherly relationship between these two. Isabel Merced is somebody that I also didn't really care for quite a while because every single time that she was in a movie, I'm not gonna lie, she annoyed the living hell out of me. But it wasn't until she did Instant Family that I kind of started changing my tune on her, and even though her character really doesn't do much in here for a majority of the movie, I get what her character's purpose was, especially when it comes down to the third act of this movie. I thought she was pretty decent. I didn't hate her character. There really wasn't anything for me to hate about this character, but even with her British brother, I really enjoyed those camaraderies. Also, Aileen Wu really doesn't get much to do in this movie, so her character really wasn't all that relevant. You could have kind of plucked her out and the movie would have stayed the same. But really the star of this movie is Fede Alvarez and the direction that he took this movie, because this movie takes wild swings at the bat, and if you're not along for the ride, then you're probably going to come out really disappointed and hating this movie with all of your guts. But I love the direction that he took with this movie because what he was able to do was give us something new-ish, but at the same time injecting moments and Easter eggs and nostalgia moments from the original films for those fans of the original films, especially the first two. He's able to mix all that in here, but at the same time, he's able to take some risks. There are moments in here where you're just holding your breath and wanting to know what's going to happen next. That is something that I really appreciate about this movie and absolutely loving this movie for. The way that the xenomorphs look, the way that they move, has that perfect balance of practical and visual effects. I absolutely love that, and there are some crazy moments, even though the pacing at times slows down a little bit. Once we get into the last 30 minutes of this movie, once we get into the third act, that is really what I'm always waiting for. It's nutty, it's crazy, and just the swings that this movie takes. It could have easily fell flat if it wasn't for the buildup to what we were getting, because I don't think anybody predicted what was going to happen in the third act of the movie. And that is what I loved about this movie. It's really what I love about a majority of new and original films. There are moments where you're able to take a swing at the bat, and sometimes you're not going to hit every single home run. But if you're able to do it in a way where the story makes sense and you can pull that off perfectly, it makes everything worthwhile and it makes all that build up work fantastically. If they're able to do more, and I hope that they do, especially with the box office receipts that this movie got this weekend, I am really hoping that we're able to step back into this world, because I want to see what they're able to create next. I want to see where the story is going to be going, and I'm hoping that for the next movie, they're able to take more risk instead of almost playing it safe, but at the same time having those moments where you're just not throwing shit at the wall and hoping that it sticks, but actually constructing it in a way where it makes sense narratively and it makes sense visual wise. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give Alien Romulus an 8.5 out of 10. It is definitely going to end up probably being one of my favorite films of the year, but I just came out loving this movie. If you're somebody that has never seen any of the Alien films, I think you're going to have fun with this movie, because I think it stands alone from the other films where it doesn't feel like you're going to be too lost. But those are my thoughts on Alien Romulus. Have you guys checked it out? Are you planning on checking it out? Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought, and I will check you guys out for the next video.